Hello everybody, this is Catholic Dad, episode number 436. What is moral conscience? And I've covered this in the past couple of videos. Just something more to think about, by the way. And so moral conscience, it's essentially for you developing like prayerful life, going into your own heart, because natural law is written on every man's heart, right? Right and wrong. And your conscience is something that you listen to, and that you decide what's right and wrong in your life. And it takes a heck of a lot of discernment to figure this out. There are some things that are obvious, like murder, rape, stealing. Like, these are God's laws. They're the Ten Commandments. You shouldn't really do this kind of stuff. But there are moral things in your life that takes a lot of prayerful life, a lot of conscious thought to think about, to act in a moral good. And the development of moral conscience, I would say, is the most intimate relationship you'll ever have in your entire life. Okay, and you think about it. What is moral conscience? Moral conscience is you sitting down with your rational mind, which is God-given, made in the likeness and image of God, and sitting down and looking at the world around you in a prayerful way, discerning what is right and wrong in your society. And I would make an argument for this, and maybe I'm wrong about it, but the development of your moral conscience is actually an intimate relationship between you and God. And that's a relationship, the most intimate relationship you'll ever have in your entire life, is literally the development of right and wrong in your life between you and God. And so there are people, by the way, that are more than willing to step into that relationship, okay, between you and God, and actually ask people to violate their own moral consciousness. In the prior video, I talked about sub speciem bonum and under the species of good, that it's possible that humans, like, you're supposed to act in the good, and most humans who are not psychopathic do act in the good, at least in their own minds and their own reason. And when you're forced to act against what you perceive as good, that you either become resentful and hateful or psychopathic, like one of the two. That's my own personal theory. I could be wrong about that, and feel free to argue about it all you want. But there are people out there, okay, that want to step into your moral conscience. And if your moral conscience and the development of a well-formed moral conscience is the most intimate relationship you'll ever have, there are people in there who are stepping into a domain which is not theirs to step into. And let me go one step further on this one. I've been married now 23 years. I have I think a successful marriage, like a really nice marriage, and I love my wife and my kids, and we seem to be on the right path, okay? And people ask me for marital advice, and I generally don't give it, because every marriage is different. But there is one advice I would give people, is your marriage is your marriage, and don't you let anybody ever step between you and your spouse. You don't let your kids step between you and your spouse. You don't let your parents, you don't let your relatives, your friends, your family, or anything else like that. Your spouse is your spouse, and you're bonded to your spouse as one flesh, and you never let anybody step into that relationship. Well, let's go one step further, by the way. The development of your moral conscience, I just hypothesize is a relationship between you and God, which I think it probably is. It's a thoughtful prayer life, essentially. And if you're not allowed to let anybody step between you and your spouse, you sure as hell are not allowed to let somebody step between you and God. And that's not their domain. It's not their authority. And if somebody does do that, they've stepped into a domain which is not theirs. And you, as are duty-filled, okay? You have a duty to protect your relationships in your domain. And your domain is your marriage, it's your family life, it's your life, your work life, and your community life. And if somebody steps into that and tries to seize authority over the domain you already have, you are obligated to defend it. And I'll argue too, by the way, more than anything, you are obligated to defend your relationship between you and God, which is the development of a well-formed conscience. Meaning, if somebody comes in and tries to tell you you have to violate your moral conscience on issues of, say, vaccination, issues of marital whatever, or right and wrong in any way, and you're forced to go against what your perception of right is, you better be willing to lay it down. lay your life down for that, because you won't walk out of the other side the same person. I guarantee you, if you violate your moral conscience, you will be changed, and not for the good, not for the good at all. But if you walk out the other side, well, first off, if you're killed for your belief system, you'll be rewarded in heaven, I suspect. Okay, unless you're a psychopath to begin with. But if you walk out the other, or if you take the beating and the suffering that comes with standing up for your moral conscience, you will come out unscathed. Like, you will have the protection of God on this planet. It may hurt physically, it may hurt mentally, but you will come out much, much, much stronger. Yeah, just something to think about that. I think that's a really important point. Well, anyway, and so I don't give parenting advice either, typically. And just a funny aside, I think it's funny. Like, people ask me for parenting advice every now and then, because I do have 9 children. And the parenting, like, your kids are different. Everyone's different. And so I can't give you advice on your kids. I have 9 kids. Each kid was different. I have to parent them differently, because they're psychologically different. They have different personalities, and they respond to, like, risk reward and differently than each other. And so, but there is one thing that's universally true with all children. And this is my parenting advice: is when you're getting their pants on, these little kids, always put the socks on first, because the little toes out there, these little toes, they'll catch on every little fragment of material, and then you won't be able to get their foot in that thing. And then, so put the socks on first, everybody. Get the toes all bound up. And if you do that, then you get to slide the feet right in. Makes it a lot easier. Well, anyway, this is Catholic Dad making you think about it. Please like or subscribe, get the Mass, and pray the daily rosary. And God bless you all, and protect that relationship between you and God unto death if you need to. God bless you all.